years ago, we initiated an effort to write a Torah called the Washington Torah. And my dream and basically my life's work has always been to bring to the public sphere, and this should answer your question as to how I'm able to do what I want, what I do. So I have two answers. On a spiritual level, I believe it's the Rebbe's brachas, because I know that even though God blessed me with some talents, every person is corporeal and therefore limited, but I see the Rebbe's brachas every day and how things come together and his blessing for my shlichus is fulfilled. But I also hold myself to be a rabbi in the political arena as opposed to a politician in the rabbinical arena. And therefore, every opportunity I have, I try to bring the message of Yiddishkeit, the Rebbe's teachings, to an environment where people usually are not used to hearing or appreciating opinions other than their own. So we started to write a Torah where we would dedicate special psukim passages to locations that are connected to those passages. And one of those was Tzedek Tzedek Tirdof, justice shalt thou pursue. We wrote that at the Supreme Court. You had the photo up before. But this one here, so there you have two justices of the United States Supreme Court. On the left, you have Justice Alito, who's actually on the right judicially. And on the right, you have Elena Kagan, who's a liberal justice. And the two of them came together to host a crowd, a very small, exclusive crowd, in the writing of the words Tzedek Tzedek Tirdof into a Sefer Torah. And the photo you had before, there's my father there talking to the sofer about which letter they were writing. And you had a photo before with the Secretary of Health and Human Services, where my wife and I joined him and the sofer in writing the words Verapo Yirapeh, and you shall surely be healed, which is the basis in Jewish faith for seeking and heeding medical advice. And that on the left is Secretary Alex Azar II, actually a Lebanese Christian, I believe, in his lineage. And he was fascinated by how this ancient custom of writing a Torah was replicated right there in his office with the words that pertain to them. Now you had another photo of the sofer I saw. So this was at Zoo Lights, which is a very famous program at the National Zoo. And there the sofer is writing the story of Noach and the Ark and all the animals who came to the Ark. And at some point later in the process, I hope to go back to the zoo and write the names of the animals in the cages where each animal is.
Wow.
So that takes a lot of work. And, we're getting there. It's a long process. It's been going on for years. But we wrote the passage of Kitiv Nebayas Chodosh, when you build a new house, in the Secretary of HUD's office, Housing and Urban Development's office. We're going to write V'nasati Shalom Ba'aretz, I'll put peace in the land, at the U.S. Institute of Peace. V'yanusu misanecha mipanecha, your enemies will flee from before you, at the Pentagon. We have other passages for the U.S. Treasury, for the White House. But with Corona, that's been suspended. But we're going to re-engage once we get past this.
How about Soim Tasim Alecha Melech, the mitzvah to appoint a king in the Oval Office?
That you'll do in Buckingham Palace in England. We don't have kings here.
The chances of that being written in Buckingham Palace are probably slimmer than them being written in the Oval Office.
I'm not so sure. When for 10 years, I spoke about writing those passages in the Supreme Court, which is a very tough place to get into and have events at. But, my kids bought me a little gift, like a little trophy, when they said, if you could do Tzedek Tzedek Tirdof at the Supreme Court, you can do anything. I'm telling you now that you probably are in a pretty good position at this point in time to get something like that done in England. I mean, you have similar locations. You could do the same thing.
It's such a fascinating idea, Rabbi Levi. It strikes me as very creative and really ambitious, but also really reflective of a spiritual idea that we learn about in Hasidus, which is the purification, as it were, of the environment, of the universe, of the atmosphere. By reading, speaking, writing, engaging in words of Torah, everywhere and anywhere, we actually elevate the world on some level. And I think that this is an incredible demonstration of that idea, especially because you're going to those houses, the seats of those particular institutions and powers. So it's incredible.